I mean, I think loads of us here, if we're old enough, remember Nick Clegg apologising and the various memes that then came from that for going back on the Lib Dem pledge not to introduce tuition fees, and of course they did. Do you think this is possibly going to be one of the biggest mis-selling scandals? Or the next mis-selling scandal?
Well, we did inherit this system, and it was introduced by the Tories and Liberal Democrats. I think that's worth saying. And the Plan 2 that you're experiencing was introduced by those parties.
Labour introduced tuition fees under the Blair government.
Yeah, you trebled them, despite the fact
that you were against
that
was what Nicola was talking about, not raising and not introducing.
It was actually, you were going to scrap them, if you remember it, in 2010, and then you trebled them. But anyway, and I voted against that at the time, if you want to settle the scores. But anyway.
And it was Tony Blair who arbitrarily set the target of half the country going to university. At the time, it was only about 20-odd%. And now we looked at it. I speak to so many young people who I think would be better off not going to university and actually going and doing things like apprenticeships.
There's been a lot about student loans recently. Let me just set the context a little bit. Most of this is focused on Plan 2 student loans. Now, the situation is a bit different in Wales, Northern Ireland and Scotland. But in England, we're talking about roughly 4 million people. And the interest charge on these loans is RPI plus up to 3%. So it can be up to 6.2%. And you have got graduates now who are paying down those loans but still seeing them increase. And the government's introduced the idea of freezing the tax threshold for that. So we had a little look. Oli, we reckon you're closest to the situation. With you've talked about your student loan, so what's the score with you?
Yeah, so I have a Plan 2 student loan. I was one of the cohort of people that were given that gift by the Lib Dems and the Tories.
So this is 2012 to 2023?
Yeah, exactly. That's when I went to uni, 2012. What does that mean in plain terms? It means that for 1 year of my degree, 1 year of study, it cost me the same. Everyone sat here, Oxford, Cambridge, LSE, everything they paid does not cover 1 year of my tuition. Do you think that's fair? First point of call, right? Yeah, that's the first place. What is the sort of most egregious thing on top of that is my 3-year course, £9 grand a year for the tuition. On top of that, I have a maintenance loan. So roughly speaking, I left uni with about 37.5 grand of debt, or I should have done, when we're talking this question about was it mis-sold to me. From the day I started, I was charged interest. RPI plus a certain percent. RPI, by the way, a measure of inflation the government doesn't like to use because they think it overrates inflation. They prefer a different measure, CPI, not when they're taking my money. Since I went to uni in 2012, just bear that figure in mind about my debt, 37.5 grand. Since I went to uni in 2012, the amount of interest, I did the sums before I got here, that I have accrued is £32,000. So was it mis-sold to me when I was told it was going to cost me 9 grand a year? Yeah, I'd say so. On top of that, it's a regressive system. So if you're wealthy enough to pay the fees up front, to pay your 27k, you don't get charged interest. So if you're rich enough, you don't pay the same as me. Is that fair? No, I don't think it is. There are some beneficial parts of the student loan system. So, for example, if you're not a high earner, you don't have to pay. And after a certain period of time, it gets wiped. That's a good thing. Unfortunately, the government has unilaterally changed the terms of the loan. So we were told, when we went to university, it would start at a certain threshold and it would increase. It would keep in line with earnings. We're now in a situation where for a little more than the living wage, £500 difference. If you're paid the living wage and you work 40 hours a week for a year, your salary, it's only £500 under the threshold when you start paying it back. So basically, if you have a job, you're going to pay it. It shouldn't be like that. The government changed the terms of the loan that I agreed to. They did it unilaterally. I'd call that loan sharking. What's more, if I wanted to change the terms and I said, you know what, guys, I'm going to stop paying, what do you think would happen?
So what do you think should happen, Oli? This is a cri de coeur from you,
yeah.
Which I knew was going to be coming. Yeah. Well, how else are we going to pay for it?
Well, how did you guys pay for it? The state paid for it, didn't they?
It did.
Good enough for you, good enough for me?